Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Get Reelisms podcast, episode 93, ladies and gentlemen. I am Adam Chase Rani. Go ahead.
And I am Christine Chen.
Was I breaking up? Was I breaking up?
You were breaking up, yeah.
Okay.
We're
Well,
both having troubles, apparently.
Yep. Well, so if this whole stream goes to kaput, it goes kaput, ladies and gentlemen. It is what it is. Christine and I are having a bad day today, but it's all right. It's all good. We're here now. Christine, what's been going on with you?
We're here.
Yeah.
So I came back from Seattle, right? But I never actually made it to my home because I got a text from Roxy being like, hey, Casey, that's her husband, has COVID. And I'm like, great. And this is me at the I think like at the airport. And so luckily I have some good friends here, Eric and Myra, who I'm like, please let me stay. So I stayed over and I only had 2 days and I had to go to Portland. Yeah. And so then I left for Portland and he's still testing positive. So I'm back at my friend's house. So I have yet to be at my place. So it's almost like I'm still traveling. Except
sucks,
I have my car. Yeah.
That sucks.
So yeah.
I mean, well, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So that's that. So that's been it's just not metaphorical for just Ursley in general.
Yeah.
Shit going wrong all the time.
Shit happening all the time.
Yeah. And then as people may know, if you guys are following along with the Ursley Instagrams and Facebooks and stuff, the day before I left for Portland, and it was like 1 a.m. I get an email being like, hey, we have to cancel the screening at the Clinton Theater because the theater's AC broke. It's like a 107-year-old theater and it's like not an easy fix basically. And Portland has like a heat wave, and I wasn't sure how serious the heat wave was because the last time I experienced a heat wave in Seattle, it was not a heat wave by Texas terms. But when I got there, I was like, okay, this is a legit heat wave. It was hot. Really,
it was very hot. Damn.
Like, where am I? Am I in Texas? And so luckily that I met at the California Mermaid Convention, Louisiana, she came to my rescue. It was like I put some feelers out and stuff, and I think we might have a place. And luckily that came through. So the lovely people of the Queen's Head in Portland opened up their doors and let us screen at their venue. But I have a funny story about that too. So I don't know anything about the Queen's Head or anything at all, but it's in like, I believe it's like a LGBTQ. Well, from the website, I was like, oh, this is like a LGBTQIA friendly, like gay bar, basically. Like, perfect. This is actually a great setting for Ursley. So we get there and there's like 3 staff members and they're looking at the door and it's not open, and they're like, hey, sorry, the door is like stuck and we don't know, we're waiting for a locksmith right now to see if we can open it. And so then the locksmith comes and I'm getting more of the story and like more colorful people roll in. And it's just great because everybody is like fluid, gender fluid, pansexual, whatever, and like just colorful, like pinks and glitter and smiley hats and just a beautiful, colorful rainbow of staff show up, and we're all staring at this door. And what I'm understanding is that from the outside, even though it's like a keyhole, the inside operates with a push bar. And even though the door is technically unlocked, it's the push bar that's stuck. So there wasn't really a way to get in, even though the locksmith was there, because she was like, there's nothing to unlock. And we're like, yeah, we understand that. So a mermaid representative from the Portlandia Mermaid Parade shows up. His name is Chris. He's awesome, Merman Chris, and he is like in full-on mermaid gear, like a big chest plate and crown and a triton and all that stuff. And they're like, well, we're going to have to take the door off the hinge. So then they start racking at the door with like a little pick, like some little tiny like portable, not even like a legit like tools, like pocket knife type tool basically. And then they were using the bolt, the lock, to as a hammer, and they're really quick, like trying to get the door hinge off. They finally, like after probably like 20 minutes, like it all pops up. It's just really funny because you've got like a merman, and then you've got Jordan who's like decked in pink, and they're all like getting this door off. And I was like, this, and I'm just sitting there being like, this is great. Yeah, I was chilled out, and I'm like, this is a metaphor for Ursley. Like literally, it's like it's a scrappy bar with limited resources. Things are breaking, and it's this beautiful teamwork that's making anything happen whatsoever. And I thought it was a perfect way to end Ursley, screening wise. And then we went in, and of course set up and all that jazz. And at this time, what audience we were able to pull are already there. And it sucked because our time got moved from like a nice 7 p.m. to a 3 p.m. So like we weren't even sure who would show up or could show up, but luckily there were a few people. But the bar folks pulled out giant icy pops. The
Nice.
stuff that you eat,
The Otter Pops, yeah.
for kids, yeah. And it was and we just sat and but these are like mega pops. They are the Otter Pops, but these are like twice the size of the Otter Pops. They're huge.
The American
and we just
size,
sat there like little kids, marrying the Texas size.
Yeah, Texas
and we
size.
sat there like kids, watching the movie. And there's like light streaming in. It's definitely not an ideal way to watch the film, but like I didn't care. It was just nice. It was nice. We just sat there and like, people I know, besides Eularia, she was the only person I knew. Everybody was like bar staff, or there were like 2 random people that I don't know how they even heard about this event. I never met before. One like apparently lives in the woods and stuff. It's 2 hippies basically. Show up, and obviously Marie and Chris and Eularia's friend and the staff, and it was pleasant, and they were just happy to have the film there. I gave them posters, and it was just really funny to me. Like, okay, this would be our ending to the Ursley tour. It's
right.
It's just scrappiness, and so that was about it. We made it through, and I'm grateful for the staff of Queen's Head for letting us crash there basically, and that we literally had to break down a door to have our screening. And I thought that was very funny. After our screening, they had a show for drag queens, so it was just like nice vibes, nice, happy, non-judgmental fun, loving vibes. So
Yeah, and that turned out to be a good
so
situation.
that was it for Portland. Yeah.
Yeah.
A stressful situation that became a very good situation, and then the next day we just did the Portlandia Mermaid parade, and so got to dress up and just walk the route and pass out Ursley business cards everywhere. Got rid of an entire box, which is good. So hopefully somebody, maybe I'm hopeful maybe 10% of the people I passed out to watch the film, and hey, it is what it is. So
Yeah.
but yeah. So that was my Portland experience. It was I don't know, it was just funny because it's like, man, this is so Ursley, so on brand for Ursley.
Absolutely.
So yeah. I think our Zoom is like hating us in terms of our internet, but it looks like, oh, you look great. Oh, well, thank you so much. Okay. Or so
I mean,
grammar
I don't know if
orchid.
I'm coming in clearly or not. I on my side, I look like I'm perfectly fine, but like
okay.
you cut in and out, and I'm like, all right,
Yeah,
all right,
it's probably my side. Yeah, it's my side.
maybe I don't know.
Sorry. Yeah, it's the internet.
My
It's not
internet's
very
about to combust anyways, so I have no idea.
good.
Either of us are going to use
At least we
tinfoil
have a
internet at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was a lovely
Yeah,
story.
Grammar Orchid said she started of this. So I met her at the California Mermaid Con, and we were hoping to revisit again in Portland, but sadly she also has COVID. So I hope you're feeling much better. But thank you. I owe how I looked at the con to Illyria. She provided the crown, the fishnet stuff. The only thing I provided was my leggings. So
Yeah.
so that's about it. But yeah, no, I wouldn't have, I mean, definitely having a better time slot at 7 p.m. at a historic, Clinton Theater would have been a more ideal situation. However, this was equally as charming, and I got to meet new people that were very awesome. So for those who are in Portland, make sure to go to the Queen's Head and have your venues there and rent their space. I know they're struggling, which is again another thing, is like this place apparently has been struggling to keep their doors open. And so it's just amazing because like the staff that showed up were so dedicated to that bar, and you can tell that that's like where they live, basically. Like this is their safe haven. And even though their bar is struggling to stay open and whatever, like they were all in great spirits and helpful, and just overall just great people. So yeah. But so it just reminded me of Ursley. Like the only reason Ursley survived anything was because of our team. We'll go and it's like, oh yeah, like things are falling apart. The food is questionable sometimes, and will we still have snacks? Maybe, will we even shoot because the river has flooded the beach? But we're here. We're here. And that's what it felt like. I'm just sitting on the bench, and I'm just like, nobody's freaking out. The staff is like, yeah, this is just a typical day. And there's a merman breaking down the door.
Yeah, nothing, not a big deal. Yeah.
Not a big deal. Yeah, we were like 45 minutes late, but it's fine.
Damn.
It was just funny. Hello.
Hello.
Says hi from Dubai. What time is
Yes.
it in Dubai right now? I would like to know. But yeah, so that ends the tour, and I'm so thankful. And I'm like, yay, coming back. I'm like, great, can't go home. But luckily I'm with some great friends, also in the industry. Eric Wong, who is a writer, he's working on a Netflix show. Hopefully, they're just developing it. And then Myra, who's also a filmmaker, director, writer as well. So, yeah.
Fuck yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
You're in good company.
So, I'm in great company, exactly. So, yeah, so that concludes it. That's it. It's all done.
You're at the end of the tour. This is it.
I'm at the end of the tour. I never thought I could. Well, no, I don't know how many times I remember presenting the tour schedule to one of my investors, and she was freaking out for me. She's like, how are you going to do this by yourself? Like, you need to hire people and all this stuff. I was like, yeah, I know I should hire people if I had money to, and it's just like, we've come to this end. We're dead broke, of course. There's no money in the bank. This is how dead broke we are. And this is actually very good information for those who are trying to learn about tax credits and applying for them and getting them and stuff. So when you get a tax credit back, there is a fee to sell, because it just is in credit form. It's not cash. And this depends on which city that you do it. But in Louisiana specifically, in order to get, I knew this part, in order to get it in cash, you basically sell your tax credits back to the state. And they take a 2% fee from your tax credit, right? So whatever your amount is, 50,000 or whatever, 40,000 that you get back, you have to put 2% of that, you have to pay that back to the city. Now, the problem is, this is the part I didn't know, and they don't tell you anywhere, is that 2% doesn't just come out of the check that comes back to you. It's something that you have to pay them.
Interesting.
It doesn't make any sense to me, because by that time I would think that most film productions would have zero money in the bank. So just a word of advice, save 2% of what you think you will need to, of what your budget is that you're coming back, so that you can actually pay the fee to get the tax credit back. So I'm waiting right now, because I know I luckily booked a gig that starts tomorrow, and then I technically have 2 gigs that are starting. So I'm waiting to get money in the bank to loan to Ursula, so that I can pay the fee to get our tax credit back. So because our bank is literally like zero from this whole thing. So, but yeah, so that's a little bit of information for anybody who is looking to shoot in a tax-friendly, tax incentive location for your films. So yeah,
save that 2%.
You would think that they would just take it off of the. Wouldn't that be?
That's what's confusing to me. I don't understand why they wouldn't just
take it out of the check. That
swipe that off the top and then give you the rest. Yeah,
it's easier. There's less transaction. But maybe what it is that you actually need like that paper trail.
Well, loans have paper trails, but they don't do that.
Yeah, I don't know. So weird.
It doesn't make any sense. But that's I guess how the state goes and how they do things with the film commission or whatever. It's very strange.
It's the weirdest thing. Yeah, it's very, very strange. So all you filmmakers,
would that be the same thing here in Texas?
That's what I don't know.
Interesting.
Every state does things differently. So it's very.
It can vary.
I mean, I haven't had to. Yeah, it could vary. I haven't had to get my tax credits back from Texas, because I've never had a big enough budget to qualify for tax in Texas. Because in Texas, obviously it might have changed since already, but the last time I heard about tax incentives, it was $250K of a budget to even qualify. So even Ursula would not have qualified in Texas for the tax incentive. Yeah, exactly. In Louisiana, it's $50,000 to qualify.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that. Yeah.
if you're local.
Which is crazy. Like to get a film going for $50K. Like, I mean,
it can be done.
They can give you a tax incentive just for that low of an amount. There's no way it would be the same in Cali. No fucking way. I don't even know if there's any incentives in California. I wouldn't think so.
I'm sure there is. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I don't know. I got to learn about these things. Yeah. I'm helping to produce a feature in Los Angeles actually. So I'll be learning.
Oh, it's a local gig. Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, both.
We're still doing the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Don't fret.
Yeah, so local, which is really cool. Yeah, my first gig that I have, they kind of overlap a little bit, but the first one where I'm actually going to be on set soon is with ABC Talent Showcase type thing. So they're doing like a diversity initiative ABC does with talent, and they each do like a scene. Basically, it's 3 different scripts, so 3 different scenes, but they get so much time. It's lovely. They get 2 days for this 6 pages of a scene to shoot. I'm like, this is going to be like, this is fantastic. Like,
that's actually kind of fun.
From an AD standpoint, like I'm like, this is gonna be so great. Yeah. So because the focus is on the talent, so on the acting, so they want to give them as much time to do as many takes, so it's about the director relationship with the versus like how it looks and directing, type stuff. So that's why they're giving so much time. But yeah, so that's my first gig. It's already started. I've been prepping a little bit the last week, but I started prep also doing the line and a schedule for this new feature called Foilables by Ryan Bird, I think is his last name. I can't really. But yeah, so yeah, I'll be
awesome.
Should be interesting.
Yeah. But you said one's a producing. Oh, what's up with me? Well, I want to ask you, did you say one was an AD gig, or are they both producing gigs?
So they're both AD gigs, but one, the feature one, is also a producing gig. It's both.
Oh shit.
Yeah, because it's low budget. Yeah, so it's kind of like what I did with Ursula.
Keep wearing them hats, Christine. Let's go.
Wearing them hats. Wearing them hats. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. I'm wearing multiple hats. Yeah, I'm trying to convince Carly to come. Hopefully, she's gonna have to do 2 roles as well, AD and production coordinator, which I know she can do, but we'll see. If she
get Nikki on that shit too.
I want to. I would love to, but literally, this is like same budget level as Ursula, basically. So more days, but same budget level. And it's in LA, so it's even scrappier, I think. But
scrappier. We'll awesome, dude. Well, no, I'm excited for you. I am excited for you. There's nothing really much going on my end. It's been a couple of PA gigs, but they're kind of like they're insignificant. I mean, what can I say? They're one's a commercial and one's a short film, and
great commercials are great though.
Yeah, no, which is nuts because like I don't know if it's an inflation thing, but like there's some PA gigs that are paying significantly higher than I would usually get working on a commercial. Does that make sense? Like I don't think I've gotten this high of a pay working on a commercial as a PA. I never really worked as I've only worked one gig as an in art department on a commercial, but that was it.
Commercial PA gigs usually are a lot more.
Yeah, but like I mean, it would usually like I'm getting like almost like $70 or $80 more than what I usually like get for the PA gigs, like regular commercial PA gigs, which is crazy. I'm like, wait, what?
Inflation.
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe it is, but like, I mean, why didn't you give this to us earlier? The fuck? Before the pandemic, so we could have, I don't know, saved money. I'm kidding. I'm only clowning. It's all fair in love, everybody. It's, it's whatever. Pay is fucking sucks that everything's expensive and everything requires money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Money
Everything is
stinks.
so expensive. My Uber ride was like $72 from
Oh
LAX.
God. Really?
So,
70?
yeah, I know. It was so
Fuck.
bad. Yeah. I'm like, LA is draining me, basically. It's trying to kill me.
Like to the airport, you've been to my house before. Have you seen the airport like when you're on the when you're leaving my house and stuff, like when you're like on a highway?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? Okay. Well, I'm like 14 minutes away from the from Austin Bergstrom Airport. And
Okay.
I don't want to say anything more. I don't want to dox myself, but I live very close, but like sometimes like I would need to take an Uber ride. Like the last time I need to take an Uber ride for someone's wedding that I had to fly out of. And it costed me $50 just for that 13-minute, 14-minute fucking drive.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I'm like, are you shit? I'm not in rush hour traffic. Leaving at like 6:30 in the morning. It's like way before fucking rush hour. Rush hour doesn't start until like 7:30, 8 o'clock. It was nuts.
Yeah, everything is just getting more and more expensive. That's all.
And I think like to
all this inflation.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And also too, like as everything is getting more expensive, like I noticed that like gigs are also shrinking. However, like when I do get a gig, it's not a bad paying gig. Like it's a good paying gig, but it's not as consistent as I once had it, Course, so not that it's a bad thing. I mean, listen, I know you hate me saying this, but like no one wants to hire a subpar art person.
Oh.
but I'm not trying to dog on myself. I'm just saying like there's amazing quality art department people who I follow and love on Instagram. Shout out to Dakota and shout out to Reese and shout out to all those art department peeps. Y'all be hustling, y'all be grinding. I love seeing that shit, But yeah, I mean, like my priority now since I've been home more is writing, and I'm doing some at home gigs and stuff. Finally finishing this fucking script. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. Yeah. I'm almost to the finish line. I feel it, but every time I slap a deadline or a due date, then I get a gig. Then I'm like, well, I don't have time to write this. Never mind. So I feel like I'm jinxing myself every time. So now I'm like, all right, Adam, you have this fucking time now, just fucking sit down, write, do whichever you got to fucking do, but just fucking finish this shit instead of just being like, I'm going to plan to write this script. So then while I'm planning, I can get another gig and then, basically pussy out of the fucking writing process and be like, yeah, I got to go on a gig. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. I'm only fooling myself, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not fooling anybody.
Struggle is real for writing. And
it's real.
Worse when you're closer to the finish line.
Yeah.
In my opinion. It's because like every single excuse comes out. And they're not excuses. They're like they do legitimately, like you legitimately need to work. There is legitimately a gig, but it's just, I feel like when you're very close, and it's not just writing. I think when you're close to anything, all this stuff comes out. It's like, I call it the world is testing you to see if you really want it. That's when like all the things break, things don't go right, this is when you're very, very close. That's when all the shit goes downhill.
Exactly.
It's a test.
It literally feels like everything's going downhill. But the greatest thing about it is that I still have this script that I can fully control, and I'm very close to fucking finishing. I feel it in my bones, So
how many pages is it right now?
So it's at 83 pages, and I'm still struggling to come up with an ending. I'm still struggling with an ending.
Okay.
And I don't know if I want to. I mean,
you're already way into that. You're just okay.
I am in the climax, Christine. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What page count do you think is going to end up being?
I'm thinking
100?
over 100, a little, not past 110. There's no way. There's no way.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be I'm thinking of an action sequence, but I mean, it's not going to be, I don't want it to be more than like 5 pages long where it's just like fucking super drawn out and shit. I just kind of want like beats, and then I want to hit those beats. There's like some imagery that I want to get to, and then hit those points and whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? Just like, I need to really flesh out an ending, and I do have one, but again, it's like I have to commit to it, and I can't just be fucking scared about it.
Right.
I can't just be like, well, I need more time to develop the second act so then I can have some justification for the third act.
Yeah.
It's like, just write the ending. It doesn't matter. Just write it. Just write it. You know?
So I guess what I'm trying to understand is the reason why you haven't gotten to the ending because you have too many different options for endings right now. You can't decide which one's better, or you have 0 options.
It's however, it's like the many endings that I have, and I'm having hard time choosing.
So this is something that's helped for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just start writing each of these endings, and you will quickly start knowing like which one you gravitate towards or you don't have any interest in. I've done that where I'm like, okay, I have like these 3 possible endings, and I'll just right now I'm going to just try writing this, and if it's like, if you're not feeling it, move on to the next one. And then if you're still not feeling it, like if you can't even get started with write, then go on the next one. You will end up figuring it out by attempting to write one or multiple of your endings. I've done that before where I couldn't figure out what the ending was, so I started on one, and then by the process of thinking about that one, being like, oh yeah, I don't like this anymore. Now I understand why this works better.
So it's like a process of elimination. That's interesting.
Yeah. Like, sure, you might waste a little bit of time of like, oh, you have 3 pages of this other alternative ending that you didn't. But the thing is, like, I've found that doing that process, some of the stuff that you may write, you actually sometimes could end up using in the real ending. You know, it's not like all for naught, but it is almost like a way of processing that's just slightly different. But try doing that. It worked for me where I would just start being like, okay, fuck it, I have these 3 different, let's just say it's this ending without. And I think what it is that because now you're very open to whatever, and you're not you're getting past yourself of like having the perfect ending, that there's less stress and anxiety regarding that, and you just flow better because of that, even if that what you choose to start writing on may not be the actual ending. Does that make sense?
It does. It 100% makes sense.
Yeah,
because it doesn't also stop me from, like you said, mixing some of those endings or some elements in one ending that makes sense. Then I'll put into the next, you know. Makes sense. Yeah. And I didn't really think about that. And that's I feel so fucking dumb because like you literally said something that was just like, oh, you idiot. You could have easily wrote all of those fucking endings, and you could have just muscled and see where you could pick apart
where it goes. Yeah, but I don't think it isn't the solution. I think it's just because
I don't know.
Because
unless I try.
Right. And I think what it is that we already have a limited amount of time, and we spend so much of it staring into space thinking. And so so we want to be as efficient with our time. And so we think that if we can, and it's true, if you can come up with the perfect ending first and then start writing it, it would maybe save some time. But the thing is, I'm feeling like it's hurting you as well, trying to come up with the perfect ending.
Yeah.
Now you're frozen, right? Because now you have so many options and you can't make a decision. There's actually a scientific psychological explanation for this. It's but they say that's why when there comes to decision making, they try to avoid anything more than 3, because more than that, your brain literally will not make a decision. It's overwhelmed with the amount of possibilities, right? And so I think you just have to force yourself out of that funk when you have that many. You just start with whatever, because it kind of opens up, like, it makes it less precious too.
Yeah.
You know, when you
Right.
put something, it's like putting something on a pedestal or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You put something on the pedestal, then like then you freak yourself out because it's on a pedestal, and it needs to be this perfectness, but you don't even know what that is, so that freaks you out even more. So yeah, this worked for me. Give it a try.
Yeah.
Just like, fuck it, let's just choose one. And the thing is, it's like you can literally put 5 of them on the board and just like spin the needle and be like, all right, we're gonna start on this one. Cool. Okay, let's just start. If this was the ending, this is how it'll go, blah, blah, blah. And you will quickly
Right.
find whether you emotionally gravitate towards that, or you'll start it and then you'll be like, actually, this explains this other ending, and then you can go jump to that, and maybe because the story is all followed a progression till then, so your endings are really not that different from each other. There are elements that are similar between all of the endings. Would you say that?
Yes, I do
Yeah.
agree.
So that's why it's not completely thrown away effort, because this is a way of processing. Because they're
Right.
similar enough, that you can probably reuse things and whatnot. So
I
try
think that
that.
makes sense. I will.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how when I start writing something, sometimes I've started multiple times and I've caught myself looking at the cell text being like, oh, there's another version of this particular script, and I'll read it and be like, oh, okay, actually,
Right.
I can copy paste some of this stuff into this other one where I was actually flowing a bit better,
Right. Yeah.
So, because I don't know, for me, I don't know how it is for you. It's like little vignettes of pieces of a story that float around, right? And then you're
Mhm.
just trying to catch them and put them together for it to like make sense. But
Yeah. Yeah.
and if they're already fragmented vignettes, why not just write for that vignette that you will have a clear vision of? It will naturally extend itself and hopefully can be used to be part of the full picture.
Easier to write around those vignettes to kind of
Exactly.
weave them into
Yeah,
the
to weave them
narrative.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
just
fascinating. Yeah.
treat the ending like a vignette, like each as a separate scene. Like, all right, let's try it. Let's just see what happens. Because
Mhm.
while you're writing it, and you're speaking in the character's language and that you're in their headspace, you will quickly figure out what doesn't feel right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It speaks for
So,
itself too. And you see, I know the vibe of the script already. It's just like, it's all like you said, like the weaving of it all just kind of coming together. And then based off of those few ideas that I already have, just follow through with them, just right around them. And there's something, there's a way to do that. Yeah. No, I'm going to try that for sure. I like that. And I've learned a lot writing this script. I mean, it's come a long fucking way. I started since I had my writing mentor. When I first, like, my first month of working on set with you. So when I had that mentor, it was like, all right, this is the story, and it's shocking how much it changed over the years. It's it's pretty interesting to say the least.
of course, yeah. Yeah. So what if you had to summarize, what do you think were the top things you learned about yourself through this whole process? Like, because you say you learned a lot, so what would you say if you could summarize the top 3 things that you learned? What were they? Well, for more writers, this might be actually interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting because like I grew up like always writing something, you know? So whether or not it's like a short story or something of like a script, but not really a script because I didn't really know how to write a script, you know? Like I'll write a script, but like it'll have like 13 pages of dialogue that just doesn't make any fucking sense. And then like another 4 pages of just like action, you know, like it doesn't like it all was just so discombobulated. But as I grew up, like writing this script, it's like all of those experiences like coming together and me like kind of embracing that, because at first, like every time like I was writing, I felt like, all right, this is not working. Like, this is just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, this is not happening. And like, God bless my mentor. Like he did the best job he possibly could. I didn't feel confident coming out of that whole, I mean, I only worked with him for learned from him from like 2 months, I want to say. And he was just like, all right, now write your script. You know, I'm like, oh, okay. And I was working at the time. So I was trying to get into the art department and, you know, trying to work more gigs and stuff like that. So at some point I had to put on the side burner. And my first lesson is never fucking do that ever. Don't put your fucking writing on the side burner. Like every single piece of experience that you get, even working on these sets, speaks volumes on the script. And I've done nothing but thought about my script every single time I'm on set. It's crazy. Like every gig that I get, whether or not it's a PA gig or an art department gig, I'm surrounded by creative people. And I guess like that energy just sort of fed into me. And so I just become really fucking inspired. And then I'm like, oh my God, wouldn't it be nuts if I had this in my script, you know? Or or even like working with somebody, it's like, maybe they would be crazy, like working on this script. Like that would be nuts. Like if they could work on like, help me with this production and shit, that would be crazy. And I do that all the fucking time. Might be kind of crazy that I do that, but it helps me engage with the script. But every time I go home, I do not engage with the script because I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I worked fucking 15, 16 hours that day. Fuck off. I'm not going to sit down in front of my computer and write a script. But that's the problem though. I'm losing that creative like juice, where I would say like it started before Urzily, because I was on a set where I'm like, I got to like write these ideas somehow. So like every time, like for those of you who are not familiar with being on a set, you sometimes like it's very much like hurry up and wait. So you'll set up something and then while they're shooting, you have like, I don't know, half an hour, maybe 45 minutes before they go to another shot or a reverse shot or whatever, you know, or moving on, who knows? So, you have a lot of time just by yourself. And what do I do all the time? I just pull out my fucking phone and play Candy Crush. You know, I'm like, I could be doing something better with my time, you know? So I just started writing like ideas down, even like ideas that weren't like for the script at all. Just something that just like pops into my head. I'm like, that'd be kind of cool, you know? And I just write it down in my
notes?
Just the notes. I just use notes.
That's what I do too. I use the iPhone, the notes. I just write a bunch of stuff.
I'll tell you something.
Lines.
You know Adam Chase's Rennie's brain when you read into my notes app. It is crazy. It is nuts. It's cool, but like it is random ramblings all over the fucking place. Anyway, so I think so that's my first one is always engage with the script as much as you possibly can. because, I think like, I don't know, like there's an old saying that we're living on borrowed time. And I've always thought like, that's such a stupid thing. It's just like, what are you talking about living on borrowed time? And as I get older, I start to realize how genuine that is, because like, it's not like the quote has usually something to do about death, but not just that. It's just like stuff about like growing up and like having a job. And like at one point, like I thought retail was going to be the rest of my life. I didn't think that like I was going to go into film. So the whole point of me moving away from retail, moving away from California, moving away from all that shit is for me to get started with film. Kind of an ass backwards way of starting it, for sure, to start in Texas. But nonetheless, I met you and probably single-handedly the nicest people I've ever worked with in my life. Some of the most creative, crazy talented people who welcome me with open arms. And it's crazy because like I never experienced that with retail. So that idea of we're living on borrowed time is very precious to me, because all I want to do is work with those people for the rest of my life, especially Christine. Mm-hmm. And hopefully we get to do this podcast for the rest of our lives too, when we're 90 years old.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah,
I hope so too, because time is so precious to me that like every time like I do something that feels even remotely unproductive, it ruins my day. It ruins my day. Me too. But time is it's precious.
And the older I get,
exactly. So instead of living in that crisis, I do everything I possibly can to engage in the creativity that I always like doing, like writing, like being on set, like doing a whole bunch of this shit, or even podcasting. This exercises my creativity. This podcast gets me inspired as well. So yeah, I do think that is the most important lesson. But the next lesson that I've learned with this script, genuinely is just like basically what we just talked about. It is like, have these vignettes, these ideas that you have, and always put them on paper, because you may never know. It's almost like that. It kind of plays into the idea of like nothing's a bad idea until you look at it from a different perspective. Some quote like that, some bullshit like that. Because you may never know, it actually could be a good idea. Because there's definitely been some shitty things that I wrote, like in earlier shit, like in this process of the script. And I realized like going all the way back to that, I'm like, wait, that actually doesn't sound too bad. I should have just fucking stuck with this. Why didn't I stick with this? So you learn and then you grow.
I mean, that's what you speak of happens not just in writing, but also like when I'm editing, for example. I've noticed that, where it's
really
like, you'll edit something for so long, you're like, this is a piece of shit, and then you start something else, and then you'll come back like a few weeks later being like, wait a minute, this was actually really good, type
right.
Of thing. Yeah. So if I hit a block, I'll often start like a new timeline for an edit, or if like a legitimate big block, I'll just like copy paste, just start. I know how I can cut this scene. It's fine. I can't figure that scene. I'll just cut the scene instead. And then taking that time, then you'll realize, oh, wait, like, shit, that's actually, now it makes sense and it works. So I get that. And I get your point one, too, but this is interesting. I'm going to ask you a question, but I want you to finish 3 first.
Sure.
So finish 3, and then I'll ask you a follow-up for
3. You kind of pointed it out, basically getting inside your own head. Stop doing that. Like, it's easier said than done. I 100% understand that. But that's why we get that bullshit idea of writer's block. Well, I have writer's block. I can't have this. Well, I can't have that. It's just like, because you're putting yourself into that thing. It's just like, It's like that stupid Shia LaBeouf meme, like that video of just like, just do it, chase your dreams, just do it. It sort of
Just do it. Yes.
just do it. And
Yes.
there's some level of honesty there. It's just like you kind of have to just get out of that funk by engaging in shit that you're inspired by, and whatever the fuck, you know, like I know we talked about this few episodes ago, but like when I watched Mad Men, you know, there's a quote of just like always think about the problem very, very hard and then just let it go. Sometimes when you just when that shit happens, you hit something like you for post-production, you wait 3 weeks and then you come back and you see something completely brand new and fresh for you. You're like, oh shit, my shit don't stink no more. This fucking rules. You know? And that's the same thing for this script, you know? Like I thought like the other week, I'm like, well, this script is going to go down the fucking dumpster the moment I fucking finish this shit for sure. And then, you know, I sort of write down what I'm fearful of, like in a journal, you know, because I'm a 16-year-old teenage girl. And I like to write about my feelings. I like to write whatever that feeling is in that moment. I'm like, why am I feeling sad? Okay, here's why I'm feeling sad. Feeling sad because I can't get this fucking idea right. I can't get this scene right. And then it's like an iceberg. It's like the tip of the iceberg is like what everybody experiences. Everybody knows, it's common knowledge. Then you get to the bottom of the iceberg where it's like the deepest, darkest depths of your mind. And you're just like, oh, I'm a hack writer. I'll never be something and I'll never become something. And when I do become something, I'm just an imposter. I'm making this shit up as I go along. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you get into that mentality, it becomes very toxic in creativity.
It's very toxic. Yep. Yes.
And so that's why I like to remain in the tip of the iceberg where it's just like, okay, why is this sucking? Why don't I understand this is not good? Is it because I'm just having a bad day? Is it because I'm frustrated with my mother earlier because I had to yell at her for some reason? You know, I just mopped the floor and she's coming in with muddy shoes. I'm mad. You know, like there's shit that sometimes
getting
it's like
outside of your head.
Exactly.
Perspective.
And then when you write it down, you realize how silly it is the next day. You're like, oh, why was I being a little sissy bitch about this? You know, you're just like, oh, okay. All right, man. Like you feel these feelings and these feelings are valid. But at some point, you got to move on and you got to just keep going with the things that you're trying to go for, especially creatively. And sometimes that will get you out of the creative funk. But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's like, fuck you. I'm having a bad day. And it's going to be all day today. You know, shit happens. I get it. Life happens too, ladies and gentlemen. And people are working 2 jobs. You know, I'm lucky enough that I'm being able to do this as far as I can do it, you know.
We're privileged to be able to do this. Yes.
Exactly. Although I'm very, very broke. It's you know, it's the love of the game, you know. Yeah, you know. So
no, I think those 3 are great lessons. I really understood, I mean, all points I've experienced before. I think number 1 point, the more you learn, the less you know type thing, but the more you're like inspired by like, okay, I love that you're saying being on set helps to inspire your writing, because that's how I felt. This is a little bit different. This is how I felt when I was in business school with business stuff. Like, oh, I can do that and I can apply it to my own business, you know. I can application. So now my question is, we're lucky to work crew on a set and write. So what about the writers that just write?
What about them?
Like, I wonder, I've always wondered about this. It's like, you know, the directors that just direct, or writers just write, that don't have that outside influence of being on inundated
Mhm.
through all the time. Like, does that make their writing any better or worse? Has it influenced their writing? I don't know. This
So
is just more of a high
yeah, I mean,
level
I think there's a point
thought.
to that though. Like I definitely think that like a part of it maybe is that, but like lately, which is crazy, the more movies I've been watching, like older movies, international movies, and like getting into Italian horror, like on this Criterion Channel app, it's nuts. It's like it's crazy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I've been more inspired, maybe not more, but as much as like that feeling I get when I first walk onto set. You know what I mean? Like after I watch
Are you saying that maybe the inspiration is drawn through past works and other people's content versus
exactly, because the
like
passion is
being on
there.
set and whatnot. That makes sense. Yeah.
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 The passion is there. It's
always
just like
interesting where
yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, like, it's always interesting where artists draw inspiration.
Oh yeah,
So
100%.
it's yeah, because I definitely draw a lot from being on set. Like I said, other people will inspire me, being like, oh, I'll watch them do like a effect on a set, and I'll be like, okay, well, I know one person that knows how to do that, so now I can write that into my script,
Mhm.
So, yeah, so I totally identified with each of your points actually. Those are all great.
Yeah. And there's like there's plenty of time or sorry, not plenty of time. There's always plenty of like moments that I get where, even sometimes like I'll watch like a YouTube video or some shit like that, and that will somehow like spark some sort of creativity. And I'm like, fuck, I gotta get back. I gotta get back to the shit that I love, And I think like engaging with that, I don't know, like I think every artist kind of has their own way of going about things. There is a guy who plays music who I used to when I played drums back in the day. And he is a guitarist and a singer. And he tells me he hates listening to music. He doesn't like listening to other music. He just likes making music, recording it. He doesn't participate in listening to other people's music or anything like that. He just does his own thing. He'll listen to some songs like at a party. I mean, of course, he's not an asshole, but it gets to a point where you're just like, his inspiration is everything but music. Which is crazy, but it works for him, and he makes some pretty good shit. I mean, he's now a producer, and he works like he works on a label now or something.
Whatever works for you.
Whatever works, it all works somehow.
Whatever works for you.
For some reason, I'm seeing on Instagram there's 30 seconds left of this
okay
stream.
We do this. Okay.
I mean, well, it's 15 seconds. It's gonna end. Like it's just gonna stop. So
okay.
Okay. Thanks everybody for watching the podcast. GetReelisms.com. Get your book today. We love you. UrsleyFilm.com. Rent the film.
That was pretty funny.
That's ridiculous, but we're still live on Facebook. It's just Instagram Live for some reason after an hour, it just fucking hates you. I don't understand that shit. Oh fuck me. I have to write a caption.
Probably take it for a landing anyway, but
yeah,
it's all What's the caption? What do we say? What are we gonna call it?
Even more writing advice. We did writing advice episodes like earlier this last year or some shit like that, but now we have more writing advice.
Perfect.
Or get out of your head. I don't know.
Get out of your head. I like that. Let's do that. Get out of your head.
All right, dude. Well, I guess
doors.
break down doors and get out of your head. All right, dude. I think that's it for me. I do have to pee though. Okay. But yeah, was there anything you wanted to to say before we go, or I mean, we're about to stop the
I think
Facebook. I guess we could just stop it. Bye, Facebook.